dark of the night, whispers of deceit.
Shadows dance on the walls.
Secrets they repeat. A shadowed figure
With eyes full of light.
hiding truths in the shadows where no one dares to pry. Uncover the truth. Let the lies come undone. Peel back the layers until the light is shown. Uncover the truth.
Uncover the truth. Let the shadows.
Break free from the chains that find the sun. Uncover the truth in the dead of the night, where secrets lie hidden like a whispered bite. Uncover the truth in the dim of the light, where betrayals take root in the heart of the fight. In the rain-soaked streets, under the moon's pale light, a crime unfolds with a twisted, sinister mind.
Yes. Under the streetlights, a crime unfolds. This is Bloodlines and Betrayal. I'm your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, Coach Schumann, who is finding new ways to succeed, and he's still achieving greatness. Coach Schumann.
Hello.
How was practice? Has practice been good? Good to hear.
Theme was full speed.
That's all it is. I had an old high school coach who taught me after a big loss, we would always go back to fundamentals. That's what he would do. He would run around like a maniac, and it would be fundamentals.
Get back to going full speed. We don't have to go run every play in the playbook. We just need to go full speed. Go full speed on defense. Go back to that, and then you can build back from there. In my opinion,
exactly. And we are talking today about a largely, I would say, somewhat forgotten incident that happened in Cambodia, referred to as the Killing Fields, which was from 1970 to 1975 during the end of the Cambodian Civil War. It was instituted by the Communist Party of Kampuchea during the Khmer Rouge rule from from 1975 to 1979. Because they took over at the end of the Cambodian Civil War, and the mass killings were part of the broad state-sponsored, as I say that again, state-sponsored Cambodian genocide. It was a Cambodian journalist, Deep Pran, who coined the term killing fields after he escaped the regime. The Khmer, how do you say it? Rouge? Rouge, yeah. Regime arrested and eventually executed almost everyone suspected of having connections with the former governments or foreign governments, as well as anyone who had a profession or was considered an intellect. Ethnic Vietnamese, Thai, Chinese, Cham, alongside with Cambodian Christians and Buddhist monks, were the demographic targets of persecution. As a result, Pol Pot has been described as a genocidal tyrant. Sociologist Martin Shaw described the Cambodian genocide as, and this is crazy, the purest genocide of the Cold War era. In 1979, Vietnam invaded democratic Cambodia and toppled the Khmer regime, Rose regime, ending the genocide. So it's funny that Vietnam was the one that toppled it.
Which was also communist, I believe.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's funny that Vietnam was the one that toppled it. After 5 years of researching 20,000 grave sites, analysts indicate that at least 1,386,734 victims of execution. Estimates of the death tolls from the regime, from the Khmer Rouge policies, including from disease, starvation, range from 1.7 to 2.2 million. And this is out of a 1975 population of roughly 8 million. Even the Khmer Rouge acknowledged 2 million had been killed.
It's like
though
25%. Jeez.
That's what I'm just like, I'm not an expert on this topic. I'm learning. I've heard of it, but I didn't know the particulars. I'm learning of it now, and the colors draining from my face. The Khmer Rouge acknowledged 2 million had been killed, although they attributed many of the deaths to the Vietnamese invasion. So of course they wanted to blame it on somebody else. And by late 1979, the UN and Red Cross officials were warning that another 2.2 million Cambodians faced death by starvation due to the near destruction of Cambodian society under the regime of ousted Prime Minister Pol Pot, who were saved by international aid after the Vietnamese invasion. So this is my question to you. In 1979, could Vietnam have been part of the UN, or did the UN go in independently after Vietnam may have taken over and tried to help out?
I would say independently.
Yeah, because there's no way they were part of.
No.
There's no way they were part of it. Okay. So from everything that I've read about this, they basically, the Cambodian Civil War had started really by 1970. There were incidents going on through 1968, but they had support, I guess, from the Soviet Union, and it was just wild how this unbelievable campaign began.
And the rebellion is against the the French controlled it, the colonialism.
Yeah, yes, 100%. But they started a judicial process.
And they called it the Democratic Kampuchea.
That's what I don't get. It was called the Democratic. There's nothing democratic about it.
Right, just like in America, Democrat, Socialist, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's communist.
It's another way to kill people.
It's communist, yeah. It's just another way to force it's basically killing people. You're not allowed to have a difference of opinion.
Correct.
And the other things they did, they sterilized people.
Oh, I didn't even know that. They
sterilized people. They forced assimilation. They called it ethnic cleansing, so to speak. So that's why, anyone who was from another culture was killed. So they started with a judicial process for minor or political crimes. And it began with a warning from the government under this regime, the Khmer regime, Rose regime. People who received more than 2 warnings were sent for quote unquote re-education. Now, do you think this was going to college, or criminals being forced into learning new things, and maybe you'll learn a new trade or a new skill? No, it didn't mean that. It meant certain death. People were encouraged to confess their pre-revolutionary lifestyles and crimes, which included some kind of free market activity and having contact with a foreign source, such as a U.S. missionary, international relief, or government agency, or if you had a brother who lived in Mongolia, if you had contact with any foreigner from the outside world at all, they were told that they would be forgiven and we'll wipe the slate clean. Oh, great. So I'm giving a reprieve. Nope. They were taking away to several places, Tua Sleng and Choang Ek, for torture, and execution.
Unbelievable.
I'm just like, this is something I would have expected to happen in like the 1200s, maybe the 1500s, not 1970 or 1979. Like, what the? So the executed were buried in mass graves. And how about this? In order to save ammunition, in order to save bullets, the executions were often carried out using poison or improvised weapons such as sharpened bamboo sticks, hammers, machetes, and axes. Let me just say that again. They didn't want to waste their bullets.
They don't want to waste their bullets.
They don't want to waste their bullets. So we're going to sharpen our bamboo sticks into spears. We're going to use hammers, machetes, and axes. Inside a Buddhist memorial in Choang Ek, there is evidence of bayonets, knives, wooden clubs, hoes for farming, used to kill victims, with images of skulls that were eventually found damaged by these implements. As evidence, in some cases, children and infants of adult victims were killed by having their heads bashed against trees and thrown into, my God, I can't even read this, thrown into pits alongside their parents. The rationale was to stop, oh my God, the rationale was to stop them from growing up and taking revenge for their parents' deaths. That makes me physically ill. So they were killing entire families. They were killing infants and children because they feared they would grow up and take revenge for their parents' deaths. And I know this because I remember I watched Game of Thrones on HBO, which was about medieval times, and they would often kill children of royalty because they were afraid they would grow up and avenge their parents' deaths. So in 1997, the Cambodian government asked for the UN's assistance in setting up a genocide tribunal. And this is even more bothersome. It took 9 years, 9 fucking years to agree to the shape and structure of the court. It was a hybrid of Cambodian and international laws, because I know that the UN carries certain laws. So, and I know Cambodia obviously was not part of the UN. I don't think they've ever been a part of the UN, have they? Or Cambodia or Vietnam? They're not UN people, right? Dave?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, they are. Okay. I didn't know that. Cambodia is?
Wait, say it again. It's what?
I was just curious if Cambodia was part of the UN. I know they asked for the UN's assistance. I didn't. They are. Okay.
Let me check that.
I didn't know if Cambodia and Vietnam. I ended up being
they
part
were
of.
Back then, though. They are. They. Oh no, they've been.
They are now.
No, Cambodia was 1955. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they have been. Okay.
And Vietnam.
Vietnam
yes. Came in 1977, very late.
So they came in later. Okay. So before the judge, none of this was agreed. I mean, it took a while to agree on everything. Judges were finally sworn in 2006. The investigating judges were presented with the names of 5 possible suspects by the prosecution on July 18th, 2007.
Who led this, right? Is that
yes. Yes.
Was it Poland on this or no?
I don't know if he was on this. I got to check his life expectancy when he died. But it was September of 2007. Nguyen Che, second in command of the Khmer Rouge, and its most senior surviving member, they were charged with war crimes and crimes against humanity. Nguyen Che faced Cambodian and foreign judges at the Special Genocide Tribunal. And wow, this took so fucking long. He was convicted on August 7th, 2014, and received a life sentence. So what fucking good does that do? This all happened in the 70s. He's not convicted until 2014. He's got to be in his 80s by then. I'm just going to check. Because I'm just, in my mind, I'm comparing this. Yeah, so, okay. This motherfucker, he gets, I'm sorry, I can't say that.
Pol Pot you're talking about?
No. I think Pol Pot may have been dead by then. This is Nguyen Che. Yeah. Okay. So he was dead before it happened. Nguyen Che, who was in command, he died in 2019. So they went through all this trouble. Nothing started until 2006. This guy wasn't convicted until 2014. So he basically served 5 years before he died. And I'm only comparing this because I'm thinking of the Nuremberg trials,
right?
About the Nazis,
right?
I'm just asking if you know the Nuremberg trials weren't they set relatively quickly?
Yes.
After World War II,
start the healing, but yes, this was not.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, part of it is the regime. I mean, I don't know if the regimes,
the teams, whoever took over, you're saying that didn't want to investigate this, is what you're saying. Okay, so I mean, it just blows my mind that the death toll was 1.7 to 2.2 million out of a 1975 population of roughly 8 million. And, the Cambodians basically lied about the number of people who were executed. they believe 1.7 million people were executed, not 1.3. A couple documentarians who studied this say that really it was 2.2 million to 3.4 million
Jesus.
that were killed. And others say that the average being 1.8 million, 1.7 to 1.8 million is a conservative figure. Even the Khmer Rouge acknowledge that 2 million had been killed, but they tried to blame the deaths on the Vietnamese invasion. So the best, I don't know if you remember this, the best known moment of the killing fields is in the village of Chuang Ek. Today, this is a site of a Buddhist memorial to the victims. And they have a Tuol Sleng. Tuol Sleng has a museum commemorating the genocide. The memorial at Chuang Ek had been built around the mass graves of many thousands of victims, most of whom they thought they were going for this re-education. They were executed after the interrogation at the S-21 prison in Phnom Penh. The majority of those buried at Chuang Ek were basically Khmer Rouge killed them during the purges within the regime. Many dozen of the mass graves, this is sickening, are visible above ground. Many have not been excavated yet. Commonly, bones and clothing surface. Let me read that again. Commonly, bones and clothing surface after heavy rainfalls due to the large number of bodies, oh my God, still buried in shallow mass graves. And it's not uncommon to run across the bones or teeth of victims scattered on the surface if you tour the memorial park. And if those are found, visitors are asked to notify a memorial park officer or guide. I am just like,
The movie made about it, The Killing Fields.
I got to see the movie, but this genocide to me is beyond shocking, because there were also a huge number of rapes that happened.
Sure. Yeah,
Rapes took place. The torture that took place. Anyone who had a brain, if you were considered an intellect, you were done. Because this goes back to, how we talked about Jim Jones and how he started Jonestown and everything.
Right.
He preyed on vulnerable people, the weakest form of people, because they are the most likely to respond to whoever steps up in leadership, because they're vulnerable or they're just too dumb to think for themselves. So Cambodia felt that they had a plan to keep this regime in place, was to annihilate and commit genocide against anyone who met this criteria, which obviously were, I just can't believe if you knew somebody who lived overseas or in another country, that puts you on the list. I mean, if you thought about that in America, They put everyone on the list. I mean, who doesn't know someone from another country?
Sure.
That I'm just absolutely shocked. And I'm shocked that this was considered a democratic country at the time.
Right.
The Democratic Kampuchea, I mean, that ran Cambodia. It was the official name of the Cambodian state from 76 to 79 under Pol Pot. But the issue is Pol Pot was a communist.
Yeah.
So was the name Democratic Kampuchea just like to throw people off? I mean, Pol Pot apparently was a known communist. Boy, I mean, I think of the North Korean nut job. What's his name?
Oh, Kim Jong-il.
Kim. Yeah, I think of him as being nuts. This guy apparently has a nice place in hell for what he did. He was very well educated. He went to some of the most elite schools, and he went to school in Paris on an academic scholarship. And then he later joined the French Communist Party in 1951. He came back to Cambodia in 1953, and he involved himself in a Khmer Vet Minh organization and its guerrilla war against King Norodom Sihanouk, a newly independent government. And the king ended up retreating, and Pol Pot was the one who returned to Phnom Penh, and I believe Phnom Penh is the capital of Cambodia.
Yeah.
So this guy worked as a teacher, and he remained a central member of Cambodia's Marxist-Leninist movement. In 1959, he formalized the movement into the Kampuchean Labor Party, which was labor. This is insane to me. It was later renamed to the Communist Party of Kampuchea to avoid state repression. And then in 1962, he relocated to a jungle encampment, and he started a war in 1968. He relaunched the war against the Sihanouk's government after Lon Nol ousted Sihanouk in a 1970 coup. Pol Pot's forces sided with the deposed leader against the new government, which was later bolstered by the United States military. Holy shit. Aided by the Viet Cong militia and the North Vietnamese. So we helped this guy get into power? Aided by the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese troops, Khmer Rouge advanced forces and controlled all of Cambodia by 1975. But it says right here that the United States
probably helped them overthrow the French. Crazy.
Oh my God. And then Pol Pot he eventually transformed Cambodia into a one-party state that he called the Democratic Kampuchea, seeking to create an agrarian socialist society that he believed would evolve into a communist one. So I don't really understand what that means. So was he trying to say that it was agrarian is agriculture, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So he wanted to create an agricultural socialist economy that he believed, even though it was called Democratic Kampuchea, he wanted it to evolve into a communist country. Year zero was the idea that put into practice by Pol Pot, where he believed he believed that all cultures and traditions must be completely destroyed and new revolutionary causes must replace it, and starting it from scratch. This is what this guy believed. He believed in erasing anything that had happened in the last 100 years or whatever, how long Cambodia existed. He called it a purge. I didn't even know people used the word purge back in the 70s.
Purge.
Yeah. I mean, he started a revolutionary culture with year zero in 1975, where everything before 1975 must be purged. So the Khmer Rouge emptied the cities, frog marched Cambodians into labor camps, and relocated the urban population to farms, collective farms, where mass executions, rape, abuse, torture, malnutrition, and disease were rampant. And it was in these killing fields, it was more than, they said 1.3 million. It's more likely 2 million. They were executed and buried in mass graves. And he was pursuing complete egalitarianism. I don't know what that means. Money, religion, and private property. Private property was abolished.
Yeah.
And also, so that's why you're saying with communism and socialism, you're saying if New York City, Mamdani would take away private property.
You would like to.
So I'm trying to understand this. So if you take away private property,
the state owns the property.
The state owns the property. Okay. So you have no chance of actually owning that property.
Correct.
You're going to end up paying rent or whatever to the state.
The state,
your mortgage goes to the state, but it's never officially paid off. You're paying this for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
fun times, right?
I mean, I guess I am uneducated to this topic. This man forced people to wear the same. He had them wearing the same black clothing. He basically had them wear uniforms. Repeated purges generated growing disconnect. And I didn't even know this. By 1978, Cambodian soldiers were mounting a rebellion in the east. Jesus Christ. And after several years of the Khmer Rouge incursions and massacres on Vietnamese territory, Vietnam ended up being the one that invaded Cambodia in December of 1978. And by January of 79, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge had been toppled. The surviving Khmer Rouge members retreated into the jungles near the border, where they continued to fight and raid. Severely weakened, they were hunted down by Vietnamese soldiers until, wow, how about this? Until their withdrawal it took until 1989. In declining health, Pol Pot stepped back from many of his roles in the movement. And how about this? In 1998, Khmer Rouge commander Tay Mak placed Pol Pot under house arrest, and Pol Pot died peacefully shortly afterward. So after all this guy did, he got to die in his house peacefully. I'm just when you mention this, I am shocked because World War II and the Nazis and the Holocaust get obviously the attention that is warranted for the mass genocide and the war crimes committed by them. In my mind, this is not. I don't even think we studied this in school. My question to you is this where they had the video of the guy setting himself on fire, or was that in the United States? I can't remember. You remember there was this video of the dude that set himself on fire as a demonstration, or no?
I might have been China.
China. Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. It was the Tiananmen Square massacre. So this guy was very, very well educated, and he was jailed. And while he was jailed, he read a lot of Karl Marx's books. And that's kind of what sparked him towards the communist organizations. And that's why he had joined the French Communist Party. But I mean, you hear of Hitler. You don't. I had never heard of Pol Pot until now. So how is it just because this Cambodian massacre, genocide, whatever, didn't get the media attention?
I think after Vietnam, there was such a de-emphasis in the area.
Yeah.
And
so we were trying to distance ourselves from whatever was going on.
That area, Southeast Asia. And
my God.
And Vietnam was in a battle with Cambodia.
Right. And we weren't getting involved because of obviously our last attempts.
Right. So we weren't, I think initially may have been involved, but I think we completely were.
We didn't come in until the very end. But from what this says, we came in during the first war that helped him get into power, if I'm reading this correctly. That's what's kind of disturbing to me, is that why would we do that? Why would we get involved to help this guy get into power? That's what's just scary to me. I mean, I know that we police the world and all that stuff, but yeah. So it was in 1970. Pol Pot's forces sided with the deposed leader against the government, which was bolstered. Oh, okay, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Which was bolstered by the United States military, aided by the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese troops. We weren't on the Viet Cong side, correct?
No.
Okay, all right. So that we weren't on their side. We were against it. But we had eventually pulled out by that point. So right. I think that probably is what allowed him to take over, because we got out of there and they were left on their own. But I mean, this guy was very, very well educated. That's what, and he went to a Catholic school. That's what I can't believe. He lived in Cambodia, but like you said, it was a French regime, and he went to a French school. How about this? He spent 18 months as a novice monk in Cambodia, learning Buddhist teachings and to read and write the Khmer language. My God. And the school that he went to in Vietnam, most of his classmates were children of French bureaucrats and the Catholic Vietnamese. He became literate in French and familiar with Christianity. Wow. I just.
Mind blown, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. He actually changed his name too. So his born name was Salath Sar, and he eventually changed his name to Pol Pot. So what it also says about him is he was not academically gifted and was held back 2 years. He didn't graduate until after the age of 18. And how about this? He continued to visit his later wife, who was at the king's palace. And it was there that he had some of his earliest sexual experiences with some of the king's concubines. I don't know what a concubine is, but that is just scary. It was, I mean, people say the level of education that was afforded to him, a privileged position in Cambodian society. He learned to play the violin. He took part in school plays. Much of his spare time was spent playing football, soccer, and basketball. And then some of the kids he went to school with ended up serving in his government. During a vacation in 1945, they went on a tour by bus to raise money. And it was that year he passed exams and he got admitted into this French college, I believe. And he went to an elite French college, but he didn't really like it, and he dropped out, basically from an academic education to a vocational one. His fellow students were generally of a lower class than those at the college that he went to.
Right.
Though they were not peasants. And then he met several other people who became members of his government. So he passed a very difficult exam, which ended up securing one of 5 scholarships that allowed him to travel to France to study at one of its engineering schools. And it was during the Second World War. Nazi Germany invaded France. The Japanese ousted the French from Cambodia. And after the war ended, the French reasserted control over Cambodia in 1946. However, they allowed for creation of a new constitution, establishment of various political parties. The most successful was the Democratic Party, which won the first election.
Yes.
According to one of the historians, Pol Pot and Sari worked for the Democratic Party during its successful election campaign. Conversely, they maintained that Pol Pot had no contact with the party. He apparently just sided with them because they were the majority and they won, but he held on to his communist beliefs. This guy, I'm just amazed. Like, you know, you hear of Hitler, you hear of Stalin, you hear of Mussolini. I've never heard of this guy. And it seems like this guy is just as bad. I mean, did Joseph Stalin commit mass genocide?
Yes.
Oh, he did. Okay. Did Mussolini?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry. But my God, like, I can't believe. And how about this? Pol Pot read, like we said, now he got on to Karl Marx, some of his denser books and texts. He found them difficult and later said he really didn't understand them. But he became familiar with the writings of Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, including the history of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union by the Bolsheviks. And he also read work by Mao Zedong, especially on New Democracy, a text outlining a framework for carrying out a revolution in a colonial or semi-colonial, semi-feudal societies. So this guy is basically reading and educating himself to prepare himself for war. And he read anarchist Peter Kropotkin's book on the French Revolution, the Great Revolution. He took the idea that an alliance between intellectuals and peasants was necessary for a revolution, that a revolution had to be carried out without compromise to its conclusion to succeed. And after that is when you can start egalitarianism and the basis of a communist party.
Right.
So, I mean, most leaders are, but this guy was a classic master manipulator. He was a master manipulator. He wore various faces. Like, this is disturbing and scary to me.
Yep.
How this could happen.
It's very easy to happen.
And it doesn't appear that we're like, I know we're the greatest country in the world and everything, but the way things are going, the way things are getting more extreme, the way that there's more shootings, more violence, more intolerance. I mean, in 10 years, anything could be possible.
Yep.
I mean, because no one's willing to have discussions. No one's willing to listen to one another.
Nope.
That's what bothers me the most, is there's no room for any
discussion.
Well, there's no disagree to, even with the budget that's going on, the national budget. You know, we're trying to get the from the federal government to keep working. The work stoppage would be awful. And, you know, Trump put into place a bill just to keep it running so they would have more time to figure it out. And it got shot down. And we discussed this. It was mostly because of the trillions of dollars in Medicaid that would go to illegals. That's like the selling point for why it's so expensive. And you don't want to sound inhumane, but then you read about, I know people compare ICE to like this stuff because ICE, you know,
it's not even close.
I know, but they compare it. They're so inhumane. They're taking children, they're taking people, and they're sending them to third-party countries. They don't even send them home. It's like it's so much different because I know the Chicago mayor was pissed off the other day but we went after Venezuelan gang members who were violent and killing people and destroying the country. And he was saying how he feels the National Guard and using U.S. military for these purposes is completely unnecessary. They're meant to be, battling wars overseas. But this clearly tells me if you don't take care of shit in your own country, all it takes is one guy.
Oh yeah.
Like even I'm not comparing obviously certain people to this one guy, but it just takes one guy to build a following, to build to start a revolution, an uprising, and genocide happens. Because if you think differently, if you come from a different background, he said it himself, year zero was basically erasing Cambodian history from 1975 and before. He wanted to erase anyone who knew of it was erased. He wanted to basically start Cambodia, Pol Pot, as its own country, brand new. And I think history is the backbone and essential for any country, because if you don't know its history, you're bound to repeat it.
Of course.
But this is
a chilling tale, a chilling case of communists getting in power.
I'm scared to death after reading
the government and then putting their own policies in place that serve their interest because everybody else is an enemy of the state.
Yeah, but he assimilated himself and basically lied about his belief.
Sure.
To gain support. And then once he had support, he went his own way and changed the directives. And it took 4 years for the Cambodian people to, even the Cambodian
crazy
soldiers.
Story.
Did you study it in school?
Not really, no.
I don't remember studying it in school either.
I just know the movie.
So the movie came out, I believe it was 1984.
I don't want to ask. Critically acclaimed.
Are there documentaries? There's got to be documentaries on it. I'm gonna go try to find some documentaries on it. I'm just blown away that this happened in the late 1970s.
There was. Oh,
there was. Okay.
2000 a quote. Oh no.
It just seems like it's been underreported on. You and I weren't really alive in the late 70s when this happened.
Stuff went on in Sri Lanka. This stuff went on in Myanmar.
Yes, Bosnia. Didn't it go on in Bosnia, the ethnic cleansing? I remember hearing about it in 1998 because in 1995 because everyone complained that the OJ trial got more attention than the Bosnia war. But this is a scary, scary reminder that if you don't fight for your rights, if you don't fight for the Constitution, that it can be taken away in a matter of moments.
Yes, moments.
That's what I take away from this. Mass genocide, that if you go and you visit the site and it rains, you can still see bones and teeth.
That's crazy.
That makes me want to puke. That drains the color from my face.
It's crazy.
So what an amazing, it was an amazing topic than the one I was going to suggest. This has been a whirlwind education, and it definitely is. I think everyone needs to read this to learn that people who complain about this country and people who, say we are the greatest country in the world with the freedoms we have. And we don't understand that those freedoms can be taken away in a millisecond, in a New York minute, if we don't open our eyes to see what's going on. And people get into power who say the right things, do the right things because they have charisma, and they say what they need to say that they don't really mean or believe in to get into power, and then they'll change and do whatever the fuck they want. And I know our government has a system of checks and balances. Obviously, that's how it was set up. But I mean, we're literally one person away from gaining enough support. And everyone obviously blames Trump for the January 6th incident, the insurrection, which really was an insurrection after we found out there were hundreds of undercover FBI agents on scene.
Yep.
And, they thought that Trump was planning this, civil takeover. But we're really that close. Like anything can happen. Anything can happen.
The killing fields is a warning tale.
It's more than a warning tale. This is reality. This happens.
It happens every time.
This can happen. This can happen anywhere. And if you don't think it can happen here, I mean, look at Ruby Ridge, look at Waco, look at Warren Jeffs.
That pales in comparison to this.
No, I know, but I'm saying look at one leader
wiping out Delaware completely.
No, I know it's a genocide, but I'm saying all it takes is that one leader.
Yep.
Who gains support.
Yep.
And if they gain enough support, they get enough people to start an uproar. That's all I'm saying.
It's crazy.
That's all I'm saying is it's possible.
And an uproar in the direction where you don't realize that they begin to lead the revolution.
For the Democrats.
They use the fact that there's a rallying cry to no different than Hitler, no different than Stalin, no different than Mussolini, no different than, and they use this rallying cry of this group, blah 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 blah, we're fighting for our freedom.
Yeah, I do think they obviously tend to pick on the vulnerable and less educated because they're more inclined to follow the loudest voice. Yep. In the absence of leadership, people will listen to anyone.
Yep.
Whoever steps up and takes control.
Crazy case. I figured you find it interesting.
Yes, I am going.
Watch The Killing Fields.
I'm going to.
I watched it many years ago. I got to rewatch it.
I am gonna go watch a documentary on it for sure because this is just troubling. This is troubling. This is scary, and it just hits close to home because of where we are at right now with so much violence and so much disagreement, and people just can't associate with each other because of political parties instead of coming together or just agreeing to disagree and working together for a solution. That's what's scary to me because there's lines drawn in the sand, and unless we find a way to come together and get some middle ground, the divide is just going to continue and get worse. And it really doesn't take much from reading this. It does not take much to lead to pure chaos, genocide, and a nut job leader who knows who preyed on the right people.
No doubt.
So wow, I will just say that was a mind-blowing episode. You scared the crap out of me.
Yep.
I'm gonna go read about it, and I am gonna try to find a documentary to watch. But great call. That was, I'm just, wow. You took my breath away.
Killed.
Yeah, I mean, they lied about it. Yeah, that's what blows my mind. They saw it was 1.3 and then 2. It could be as much as 3.4. I mean, and because, and then the whole, we don't want to waste bullets. That made me sick. Because they wanted to save ammunition, so they just used poison and spears and knives and hammers and, oh my God, there's just no humanity. Wow. So,
till next time.
Yeah. Do you guys practicing today?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'll hit you up a little bit. I just got to run and do something.
Yeah. For the Killing Fields, I'm Steve Cully. Shocked. Dave Schumann, Coach Schumann. Remember, this is Bloodlines and Betrayal. Life gives you lemons. Don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and I guess give them to the Cambodians.
Stay away from Pol Pot.
Pol Pot?
Pol Pot. That's a crazy one, dude.